Hello and welcome to the Un-American Football Show's weekly prediction episode. I'm Allan, that's Nate, that's Ross. We're going to be taking a look back at week 16 and making some wild predictions for week 17. Guys, how you been keeping?
Yeah, pretty good. I think it's probably been the best Christmas I've had for several years. Which is, and it makes for a nice change. Didn't have to cook, didn't have to wash up afterwards. I mean, if you have to do neither of those things, you've won the day, haven't you? Really,
that is true. I didn't have to do those things, but I was with an awful lot of family. What about yourself, Ross?
No, I agree. I loved my Christmas. Very nice. Lots of family in the house. A really full house, hence why I've been kicked out to my sister's bedroom for this particular recording. But we'll make do. I'm playing away from home today, but hopefully I can make up for it with my amazing personality.
Definitely. I think your sister actually just tried to break in a second ago, so I don't know if that's defined as an Easter egg in sort of modern culture, but maybe not an Easter egg, but they just...
Well, I missed it. So.
Well, you can watch back. The thing is, this was recorded.
Yeah.
So let's talk about week 16. It didn't really quite go how I hoped this week, personally. But let's have a quick rundown. It all started on Thursday night with the 49ers travelling to Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans. We all fancied the Niners, and the Niners lost. A.J. Brown, resurgent, back off IR. Probably the difference, 17 points to 20, this one. So yeah, we all got it wrong. Nil point. Quite impressed the Titans won it. Or maybe disappointed the 49ers didn't, I guess. We then moved on to Saturday at 9:30, because we had the Saturday games again. And we had the Browns travelling to Green Bay, to Lambeau, to take on the Packers. It's 22-24. This one we did the handicap line and we did the under-over. The handicap line was 7.5. The under-over was 45. Nate, you fancied the over and the Packers minus 7.5, so you got 1 point there. I fancied the Packers minus 7.5, got that wrong as well, but I got the over. And Ross, you fancied the Packers minus 7.5 and under, so you got 0. So after 2 games, you were on 0, but it does start getting better for you. You'd be pleased to hear. Saturday became...
It was grim, wasn't it, that game?
Yeah, yeah.
Just, bad game.
I was fuming because in Titans 49ers, I get the correct scoreline, just predict the game-winning field goal the wrong way around, and then I missed out on the over in the Packers game by a point because I went over.
Yeah, but horrible.
That's the line. That's the risk you run with the line.
That's true. Yeah, narrow misses. Moving on to
game of the week coming up.
A game that happened this week was the Indianapolis Colts at Arizona Cardinals, which was Saturday for most people in the US, but Sunday morning for us, Boxing Day morning for us. We all fancy the Colts, and we all fancy them to win by 1 score, and that's exactly what they did. They won 22-16.
Yeah, boy.
Definitely a good result for the Colts. They continue their march in the AFC.
Huge.
Not much else to say. It was a commanding win.
It puts them into the 5th seed now, which is, I think it almost solidifies the 5th seed because they've got to play the Raiders and the Jags.
Yeah.
So you've got to think that's 2 wins.
No catching the Titans now, I think, now that the Titans won.
We're 1 point. We're 1 win back from the Titans. They don't have difficult fixtures to see them out.
And have the head-to-head. Moving on to Sunday, 6 p.m, we had what we thought was going to be a real entertaining game. And it was an entertaining game, but just maybe not quite as close as we suspected. We had the Buffalo Bills travelling to Gillette to take on the Pats. Bills rounding out 33-21 winners. Nate and I, we both liked the Patriots, so we were wrong.
We didn't like the Patriots.
Well, we thought they'd win.
Yeah.
Ross, he liked the Bills, and he was correct, but he only went for a 1-scorer. And it was a multi-scorer, so he gets the point. He continues his sort of charge there. It wasn't. It was a Josh Allen game. He played well. The Patriots didn't play all that well, unless you're Damien Harris, who did play quite well. Moving to Sunday 9:25, we had. We suspected this wouldn't be that close. Steelers at Chiefs. Steelers 10, Chiefs 36. To be honest, it wasn't even that close. Watching it, it was grim. Steelers looked dreadful. We went for some handicaps and under-overs on this one. It was Chiefs minus 9.5, and under-over was 45.5. This is another one really close to the line. This is half a point out. Nate, you went for the Chiefs minus 9.5. You got a point there, but took the under incorrectly. I took the Steelers plus 9.5. Got that wildly wrong, and took the under. So none for me. And then Ross, you took the Steelers plus 9.5 as well, and got the under. You also got 0. So amazingly, 1 point between the three of us on that one.
After last week, where we all scored relatively well, it's a return to form.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think our thinking here was that the Chiefs had just put Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce on the COVID list, even a couple of offensive linemen as well. So I assumed there was going to be a few more positives as the week went on. And in the end, they actually got Tyreek Hill back for the game, although he wasn't much of a contributor. They had their basically full array of weapons, which absolutely dominated the Steelers.
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday night football, blowout of the week. Washington football team travelling to Jerry World to take on the Dallas Cowboys. It was 14 points to 56. I was really hoping for the 60, but I just didn't try hard enough. That was Monday, 1:20 a.m. Again, I think we all expected the Cowboys to win this one, but we did some handicaps and under-overs. It was Cowboys minus 10, and the under-over was 47.5.
Easy.
Yeah, in the end. Nate and I, we both took the Cowboys. We got a point. Ross, you took the Washington football team plus 10. In fact, they needed plus 40, and they still would have lost. The under-over. Nate, you were the only person to take the over, and you were correct. I mean, the Cowboys got the over by themselves.
Cowboys did it alone, yeah.
I mean, it went well, but I didn't expect it to go quite that well, I guess. Monday night football. This was a damp squib. Definitely not one for the record books. It was a pun. Dolphins 20 scored against the Saints, who scored 3 with Ian Book at quarterback. It was Tuesday, 1:15 a.m. last night. Nate, you were the only person to take the Dolphins. And you actually got 20, which was bang on for the Dolphins.
I was so unconvinced as well. I really ummed and ahed about that one.
Yeah. I mean, I was only wrong by 2. Unfortunately, it was a 2 in front of the 3 for the Saints. So I wasn't actually that close at all. It was diabolical. A word on your Saints, Ross?
Ian Book.
Man,
actually, no, that's it. I'll give you 2 words.
Ian. Go easy. He said a word, not several.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 words, so I'll keep it to just Ian Book. That's all.
I was going to watch the highlights. I saw the score. I thought
I did. I didn't make it. I didn't make it to the end of the 6-minute highlight package.
I actually saw the first 10 live minutes of action because I was up in the middle of the night, and I thought, I'm not going to watch more of this.
Funny enough, I did something very similar, and I'm a Saints fan. I did not stick it out. Actually, I think it was the Alvin Kamara penalty. I was like, no, we're just not. The stars have aligned against us this week, and that's the end of our season.
The pick 6 did me. I thought I can see where this is going. That was very early on in the game. Lastly, fantasy player of the week. Around us, we did all right. I picked Najee Harris, which I think would have been a better pick if the Chiefs literally had no one playing. He scored 16. Nate, you picked Debo, one of my favourites to pick this season. He scored 26. But no one could beat...
Big week from Debo.
Yeah, decent.
I thought I had it. I thought I had it after Thursday football. I was like, oh yeah, go on, that's a point.
I mean, 26 is a good score. Some weeks would win at a point.
I didn't think he was going to win out.
No. And actually, Ross, although he wasn't the top point scorer of the entire week, he was the top point scorer out of our picks. Devontae Adams has 3 points for you, which I think you were only the second person to do that. So that really bumps up your score this week.
Yeah, it basically saved me, I think, looking at it. I think I would have lost to you without it. So
is that 3 points?
It is 3 points.
Or is it
it's
3
3 points.
Oh, cool. Well done.
But that's not good, because that means I'm now last on the week. I scored 4. Ross, you doubled your score. You got 6. And Nate, you got 7. So yeah, Nate, your resurgence continues. That means that you're 11 back from me, which is definitely reduced. But I'm now 6 back from Ross. So, I mean, you've still got a chance. Nate, we've got 2 weeks more of action. Week 18, last week of the football season's always a bit weird. Anything could happen these next 2 weeks. really.
Yeah, my problem is that on the occasions where I win, I only win by a couple of points, whereas the weeks where you two win, you win by 4 or 5,
Well,
typically.
I mean, you caught me up by 3, so that's not admittedly won't be enough with the 2 weeks to go. But if you get a correct score, bang on the nose, that's a massive.
I'm getting closer and closer to these correct scores as well. I've had a couple where I've been 1 point or 2 points out, so
yeah,
it's coming.
Right. Well, let's take a look at week 17. We're just going to mix up the format a little bit here. I'm going to announce some of our scores together, and then we're going to do a bit of digesting, a bit of discussion for each game. So there's no Thursday night game this week, and I don't understand why. In the same way, I don't understand why we've had Saturday games in the past few weeks, but let's not go into that. So we're going to do 2 games from the 6 p.m. slate on Sunday. Probably the pick of those is Rams at Ravens. So we've all gone for the Rams. Nate, you expect them to at least put up 30. I expect them to put up 40. And Ross, you're expecting a close knit-up game, 24 points to 20. What you thinking there?
I'm hoping Lamar Jackson is going to be back for the Ravens. I think he makes all the difference for that Ravens offense. There's been some thoughts even on this podcast that Lamar Jackson isn't that great, isn't always cracked up to be because his backup for a couple of weeks was running the offense just as efficiently. But I think it's Josh Johnson in there at the moment who was playing on Sunday. He definitely can't run this offense as efficiently as either of those two guys. But Lamar Jackson is 50-50 to practice on Wednesday, if you can read between the lines of John Harbaugh comments to the media yesterday. So I'm hoping he's going to come back. I'm hoping he's fresh. And this is a do-or-die game for the Ravens when they're at home in their building, inviting the Rams all the way from California, cross-country into Baltimore, which West Coast teams never usually perform well on that early slate on a Sunday. So all going against the Rams if Lamar Jackson's back, cross-country flight, early slate game, still going to pull out the bag, but only by 1 score.
Nah, Bulls are going to smash them.
Yeah, I disagree. I still think Rams will win, but I think they didn't have the best game this past week, the last few weeks. 2 of the last 3 weeks have been really hot, so I just fancy them to take on this Rams secondary, which have been pretty ropey at times this season, and your score sort of reflects something quite similar, Nate. So I guess we're probably more of the same thought.
Yeah, the Ravens don't impress me. The Rams, while they've been very inconsistent, I just think they are a better unit on both sides of the ball, and that'll make that well known on Sunday.
I think we're all in agreement with the Rams are the better team, got the better units, hence why we've all picked the Rams. Just think there's a lot going against the Rams for them to go in and win with a blowout.
Yeah, I think you're giving the situation of the kickoff time, the location, a little bit more heed than Allan and I. I just think Ravens are a bit shit and the Rams aren't, so that's the answer.
Yeah, could be confidence versus lack of confidence going into this week as well, which is something we've not really talked about. Let's look at the other 6 p.m. Sunday game. We've got the Atlanta Falcons travelling to the Buffalo Bills. This could be a chilly one. We're going to do some handicaps and some under-overs here. So the line is Bills minus 14.5, which is a massive margin, and then an under-over of 44. So Ross and Nate, you both like the Bills minus 14.5. I'm going to take the Falcons. I think the spread's just a little bit too big. We've all gone for the over. Maybe because I'm different to you guys. Maybe I should talk about the Falcons just for a second. I think the Falcons in recent weeks have been battling. They've not been as bad as they were early on in the season. The Bills, on the other hand, something that's changed quite significantly for them is that they're using Devin Singletary a lot more. They've lost Gabe Davis out wide due to COVID, so he's going to miss 2 games. They already lost Emmanuel Sanders. I just think this is a game that the Bills will win, but I think that they might go to the run game a little bit more than they have done other parts of the season. So I think the Falcons will keep it within 2 scores. 2 scores is quite a wide margin. You guys obviously disagree. Nate, do you want to tell me why you disagree?
And the Falcons are one of these teams that they'll have a really good performance one week and win, and then they'll have a really shit performance the next, and they'll lose. They're also against the spread. They've lost 9 games this season. whereas Buffalo have won 8 games against the spread this season. So, I mean, admittedly, Buffalo, the spread, their average victory against the spread is plus 3.6, not quite 14.5, but I just think these Falcons are bad. Well, they're not bad. They're not bad. They actually do quite a lot of stuff well, but it's some really basic, important stuff that they don't do well that ends up costing them at times, and that's being not very consistent on defense and only really having Patterson to get the ball chain going and get points on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the weather forecast for this game. As with any games in Buffalo this time of year, could be snow, could just be freezing, could be wet. But we've all gone for the overs. Ross, you're obviously confident that even with a bit of weather, the over's going to be hit.
Yeah, very confident. I think the Bills are just starting to hit their stride, actually, with wins the last 2 weeks.
Josh Allan was incredible Sunday.
They took the Patriots lost to heart a couple of weeks ago in that Monday Night Football. The reporters' questions after the game to the defensive players in the secondary, they obviously have taken it to heart. They've embraced that us against the world mentality that all good NFL teams seem to have to do for whatever reason to perform well in this league. But I don't know, I just see the Bills much better team. Whenever the Falcons lose, they lose big. Giving up. Remember they lost 25-0 to the Patriots early on in the year. Gave up 40 points to your Dallas Cowboys. I think the Bills are on par with the Cowboys and the Patriots at this point in the season, just about. And I think they're going to smash the Falcons. Falcons have put up enough touchdowns on offense to hit the over, but I really do think the Bills could win this game by 3 scores quite easily.
A little bit of a mini segue there from you there, Ross. Very nice. Sunday, 9:25 UK time. We've got the Arizona Cardinals, who are sort of reeling a little bit, really struggling the last few weeks, taking on Dallas Cowboys, who have won 3 in a row. We all fancy the Cowboys, all of us fancying a 2-score game. How about them Cowboys, Ross?
Yeah, I'm a big Cowboys fan. Always have been. No. The Cardinals, as you said, are reeling at this point. They actually secured a playoff spot on Sunday, but courtesy of results that went their way elsewhere in the league. But they've lost 2 in a row. I think 4 of their last 5. 3 in a row. There we go. So they're really, really struggling at this point. The offense seems to be figured out, even with Kyler Murray back. There's something they struggled with the last 3 years under Cliff Kingsbury is in-season adjustments to their offense and defense to keep progressing and advancing, or just holding something back for this time of the year. And the Cowboys seem to be going from strength to strength at this point, so you have to go with the form team, which means the Cardinals will probably win.
Nate, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there, but I was going to say it's the Cliff Kingsbury effect. Comes steaming out of the gates. And then you struggle down the stretch. They did it last year, and it cost them a playoff berth. They've done it this year. It's not cost them a playoff berth, but 3 weeks ago they were the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Now I don't know the records of the other teams in their division, but if they carry on going like this, they might struggle to.
They are behind the Rams.
Division. They're behind the Rams.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. They've lost the divisional. They've lost the division. Well, not lost it yet,
Yeah.
But they've lost the leads at the present time. It's concerning for the Cardinals. Obviously, Nuke being out is an issue. I don't think he's going to be back this week, and that they couldn't beat the Colts when the Colts didn't have a single offensive line starter on the field. If they can't do that to the Colts without their top 5 guys, they're not going to do it against the Cowboys. So it could be a big scoring game. So 31-17. I think the Cowboys. We all know what they're like. We all know that their offense, when it fires hot. Their defense, without Trevon Diggs, you can exploit it in places. Even with Trevon Diggs, to be fair, you can exploit it. He's a ball hawk. He catches the ball loads, but it doesn't really offer protection elsewhere. So, I suppose them to put one more point up against the Cowboys than they managed this week. But it should be a really fun game, I think. It's looking like game of the week to me.
Allan, you like this stat. There's one team in the NFL that has less takeaways as a whole than Trevon Diggs has? Do you guys want to take a quick guess as to who that is?
It's probably the Cardinals.
Sorry, say the stat again.
There's one team in the NFL who has less takeaways
Yeah.
as a whole, all form of takeaways, than Trevon Diggs has.
Giants.
Philadelphia Eagles.
No. The Jacksonville Jaguars only have 7 takeaways on the season across the year, whereas Trevon Diggs obviously has 11 interceptions at this point, I believe, which is just mental in itself. Funnily enough, the Baltimore Ravens have just as many takeaways as Trevon Diggs has. So I wouldn't have expected that from them.
Yeah, just sort of build on one of the things that you said, Nate. I think people can still score on this Cowboys defense. I think they look excellent against poor teams, but even against this really struggling Washington team, they still gave up 2 touchdowns this past week. So I do expect the Cardinals to score points, but the Cowboys are second in the league in red zone at home. They are 30th on the road in the red zone. So that's quite a dramatic split. They're at home. I fancy them to win. Let's move on before I sound like a massive homer. So let's go to Sunday Night Football. We've got the Minnesota Vikings travelling to Lambeau, take on the Packers. Monday, 1:15 a.m. This is a tasty little game. This is another really important game for the NFC. Vikings fighting to get in. Packers trying to retain the number 1 seed. I think everyone would probably expect Packers to win this. So let's do some handicaps and some under-overs. The line is Packers -5.5. The under-over is 48, which is a healthy number. Just looking quickly at what we got the Packers -5.5 for both you guys. I'm the road one again. I've gone Vikings +5.5. We've all taken the over. So I've gone for the Vikings +5.5, unlike you guys. Just to tell you a little bit why I think that they're going to do that. The Green Bay Packers keep having really close games with teams that I don't think are all that good. They beat the Ravens by a point a couple of weeks ago, and this week they beat the Browns by 2. One was starting a backup quarterback, and the Browns have just struggled sort of all year long on offense, really. So I fancy the Vikings. They've got a lot of offense in this team to get some points, which is why I've gone for the over, but it's also why I think they're going to keep it close. You guys clearly disagree, which is cool. Nate, why don't you tell us a little bit why you think the Packers -5.5 is going to be the winner for you?
Okay, so my thought process again is looking at the team's recent records, looking at the way they go, their trend against the spread, so much like whatever game it was that we've done the spread on. Green Bay are 11-4 against the spreads, but their average points against the spread is only +0.4. So like you said, close. However, the Vikings, they are actually positive against the spread as well. They've won 8, lost 7 against the spread, with an average of 0.0. So neither team really stretch it. I just think the Vikings' defense isn't very good. Which is great for neutrals because it means that most of their games are really actually quite entertaining because they do have a handy offense. So I'm expecting a fair number of points to be put up. If I was picking the score as opposed to the lines here, I'd probably take something like a Packers 28-20. Around that spot victory, which would land me right on the nose of the under-over. So it's close. It's very close. It's as likely to be under as it is over. I think it's more or less in my head it's more or less evens at that stage. So it's going to be a tight one. I think the Packers maybe win it by 7, maybe 8.
What do you think, Ross?
Yep, no, I actually agree with Nate. I think you might see a very similar game to the one the Vikings just played against the Rams, except this. It's not obviously the actual case of these kind of things, but it's obviously going to be on a full season's review. But this could be the nail in the coffin for Mike Zimmer's tenure as Vikings head coach. Vikings are giving up around 25 points per game, which is bottom 10 in the NFL. Packers are also giving up around 21, which puts you just under the under-over. But it does suggest that there's kind of leaky defenses on both sides here. And Aaron Rodgers on a Sunday Night Football in prime time is probably going to perform better and put the opposing defense to the sword more than Kirk Cousins is going to. As well as Kirk Cousins usually plays against the Packers these days. I just don't see it happening on Sunday Night Football in cold weather.
One thing I will say on that, I think that's a really good point. It could be cold, weather could be impacting this one. Probably COVID, probably going to have some role that we're not aware of course, like almost every game, it seems, at the moment as well. The Packers are struggling against the run, which is probably why they struggled against the Ravens and struggled against the Browns. The Vikings can run the ball. They could have Dalvin Cook back from the COVID list, although Alexander Masson is really, I think he could probably join another team and be a starting running back because he sort of operates as well in the system as almost as Dalvin Cook. Not as good, but maybe 8 out of 10 if we're calling Dalvin a 10. So I think it could be close. I'd probably give it, you said a 7 or 8 point margin, Nate. I'd probably give it a 6, which is as close as to 5.5 as you can get. So yeah, this is an interesting one, and obviously massive for the playoff race. On the other half of the NFL, the AFC, we've got an AFC matchup. We've got the Browns and the Steelers playing at Heinz Field on Monday Night Football, Tuesday, 1:20 a.m. This could also have some playoff impact. Browns trying to get in. I think Steelers are just inside. Oh no, they lost this past weekend. So maybe they're both just chasing outside, but still have a chance to sneak in. I don't know which way to go on this one. This is a really tough one. I've gone for the Steelers in a 2-score game. I don't really know why. Ross, you've gone for the Steelers as well in a 1-score game, and Nate, you fancy the Browns to get a 1-score win. Tell us a little bit why you fancy the Browns in this one.
They're both stinky. They're both stinky. It's a stinky game. It's a stinky division. The Steelers are the 11th seed at the moment. The Browns are 12th.
That makes them sound like they're a million miles away, but how many wins are on their way?
But then they're not. So they've both got 7 wins. Steelers are ahead. Let's see if a tie. But remember that tie was against the Lions at the time. The 0-win Lions. They only both teams could have things go their way and be in the playoff picture this coming weekend. It's unlikely, but if the Chargers, the Raiders, the Ravens all lose, whoever wins, and the Dolphins all lose this week, whoever it is between the Steelers and Browns, there's a good chance that they've got some tiebreakers there, and they leap a team.
Dolphins don't lose anymore,
so
though.
It's not over by. Well, they are playing the Titans though.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
I just think they're both pretty stinky teams. The Steelers are more stinky, but Baker Mayfield is a really weak link at the moment for the Ravens. The Browns, and I just don't. I don't know. I've got a 6-point game here, but it could be a 1 or 2 point game. To be completely honest, it might not even be both teams make it past 20 points. I just think the Browns with Nick Chubb, and I don't know. I just think they're going to be slightly better. That's it. I think Chubb will have a big game.
He possibly could do. I'm shooting for the stars a little bit. If I've been picking the Steelers, I might as well go for a 2-score game. It's sort of the conclusion I sort of came to. So I need some points to try and catch up Ross on. So yeah, I'm shooting for the stars, and I think the theory that's backing me up is you said about Nick Chubb. That's their best, their best offense really, running the football. I think the Steelers' front 7 is decent enough to try and keep him quiet. It's more the secondary I'm concerned with, but you've got Baker Mayfield throwing the football. So I think that's in the Steelers' hands. Likewise, the Browns haven't been as good on defense as we hoped they would be. The Steelers want to bounce back from a humiliating loss to the Chiefs this past week. So I think at home, that's a good place to do it. Ross, you obviously fancy the Steelers as well, but probably not all that much because you've only got a 3-score win, which I think is probably, looking at the margin, I was looking last night, I think it's only a 3-4 point margin. So you're pretty much on the nose with what the bookies think.
Yeah, well, it seems like these AFC North clashes this year are either 41 points to 20 or 20 points to 23. So I'm going with the latter in a much closer game here. I don't love it. I don't like it that much. But to use your point, I think you used a couple of weeks ago when you were picking Steelers versus Ravens. This just feels like a game the Steelers win. No matter what else is going on in terms of their form and the kind of season they're having. this just feels like a game that under Mike Tomlin, the Steelers pull out the bag on Monday Night Football in their own building. Fact is, the Steelers are 5-2 and 1 on the road at home. That one tie coming against the Lions, as Nate mentioned, and the Browns are 2-5 on the road. I just think the Steelers' defense is going to be all over Baker Mayfield. TJ Watt could have a 2 or 3 sack game, and we wouldn't be all that surprised here. Don't love it. Don't think either team ends up in the playoffs when all is said and done, and neither deserve to be, quite frankly. But Steelers at home, I'm going to take the home team when it's two bad teams.
I think that's fair. Okay, well, let's talk about that's the slate of games. Would you slate this week? Obviously, we pumped it up a little bit with 2 games for 6 p.m, so that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Let's talk about fantasy. So I came last week. I desperately need some points to try and catch up Ross. So I'm going to go for my safety blanket this week. I'm going for Cooper Kupp. I've got the Rams scoring 40. Even when he has a bad game, even when Matt Stafford has a bad game, Cooper Kupp has a good game. I'm also playing against him in the fantasy championship, and so if he absolutely dominates, I need something to sort of have some sort of smile or half a smile about. So Cooper Kupp, I put a curse on you. Coming second in the week, we have Ross. Ross, who do you fancy?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of players you could choose from in all these games. Some good offenses from a fantasy perspective here. Can't pick Devontae Adams because I had him last week and he won, just to remind you guys. But I am going to go to the Buffalo Bills game. As I said, I think the Bills are just hitting their stride, particularly on offense. They showed that against the Patriots. They flexed their muscles a little bit. I think Stephon Diggs flexed his muscles a little bit, as well as swearing at a few fans. Look up that his touch. Just after his touchdown catch.
That was his MVP moment.
Yeah, so stellar use of language by Stephon against New England, the fan base. But I think he flexes his muscles and lets his talent do the talking against the Falcons on Sunday. So I'm taking Stephon Diggs for fantasy players.
Do you remember when we talked about him as an MVP candidate last year? It feels like a million years ago. He's not been bad. Time. He's just not been last year's level by a long way. But anyway, Nate.
Yeah, I don't remember talking about him as a MVP candidate last year. But that's maybe why I haven't gone his way today. But I'm going in the same game. Patterson. Josh Allen. I just fancy Josh Allen to. I've got the Bills going on a minus 14.5. I need Josh Allen to be slinging bombs left, right, and centre. And Stephon Diggs isn't the only guy that can catch in Buffalo, whereas Devontae Adams for large stretches of the season has been the only guy getting repeated targets. I know Lazard had a big game this weekend and Peoples-Jones is there and occasionally catches something, but no one else does. So, yeah, go big or go home, and it's going to be Josh motherfucking Allen. And, I fancy him to scramble for one as well. Quarterback sneak, they're going to be on the one to open the game. Okay.
I think that's a good pick. Josh Allen was a name that came to my mind when I was sort of going through my process of who I wanted to pick. And I think they're going to be up early. So I think they'll probably have a few goal line opportunities, which he'll probably share out a little bit with Singletary at the moment. So, yeah, as I said, Isaiah McKenzie had a massive game as the 5th wide receiver probably on their depth chart. Not sure he'll necessarily do it again, but Josh Allen's definitely central to all of that. Okay, so that's the week 17. That's how we see it. I think there's some good picks in there. I think there's some Larry picks, so exciting to see how that all works out, especially for that fantasy game for the Bills taking on the Falcons. I think that's quite a pivotal game for all our predictions, to be honest. So that's the week. As always, thanks for joining us today. If you like the show, drop us a comment, give us a like, hit subscribe. If you want to check out our other podcasts, you can head over to wherever you check out your podcasts, Amazon, Apple, Spotify. We're all there. Anchor. Although I'm still not sure what Anchor is after all this time of saying that people can go to check out our podcast there. If you want to... if you want to...
That's actually where we upload our files. They're our hosts, but they're owned by Spotify, but you can actually listen to it on Anchor as well as everywhere else.
And if you want to keep in touch with us on a more regular basis, check us out on Twitter at ToughShowOfficial. And also, if you want to join our Discord community, come talk football or baseball or wrestling or anything, mainly football though, please come join us. You can find out how to join us below and also on our Twitter page. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Nate. And we'll see you again in the new year.
Bye.